A young studio extra falls in love with a French dance double. When they are separated by the Berlin Wall, he makes the impossible possible just to be reunited with her once again. The scene opens with a young child running through the garden and hiding in a room. His grandfather notices him and follows him inside. There he finds the child weeping, and seeing his condition, he deduces that it must be love, as he himself knows the feeling too well. The child is stuck in the dilemma if he wants to go back with his parents or confess his love for the girl he likes. To hopefully give him an answer, Grandpa begins to tell him the story of a man he once knew. Our main protagonist Emilio Hellberg is at Defest Studio for feature films to meet his brother Alexander Hellberg. He is here in hopes of getting a small role and working in the film industry. This is his first time here, and he is completely blown away by the beauty and glitter all around him. Camels and other animals roam freely inside as the people walking around look joyful and friendly. He himself witnesses a scene being shot where an alarm blares and everyone stops doing whatever they are doing, which is followed by quietness and then a small blast. The scene cuts and everyone claps and smiles. Amazed by their strange interaction, Emilio walks into another set which almost feels like another world. The fake snow falls around him and he observes how movies can take you from one place to another. He is busy admiring the view when Alex's voice brings him back to reality. When he sees the familiar face, Emilio cannot help but hug the man enthusiastically. Alex gives him a tour of the set where he explains everything to him. Their ride comes to a halt and Alex instructs Emilio to bring the carton of drinks inside. Emilio takes out the carton, but before he can take it inside, his eyes fall on the most beautiful woman he has ever seen. This is the first time he sees Miley. She is sitting in the back of the car and Emilio notices that her mascara is smudged due to all the crying. Miley sees him and as their eyes meet, Emilio smiles at her. Instead of smiling back, Miley gives him a middle finger and Emilio does the same, but before they can interact any further, her car drives away. Thinking that this is the last time he will probably ever see her, Emilio walks inside where Alex is. Here props for the movies are prepared. Emilio thought that he would get some slack considering this is his first day here, but Alex has other plans. He orders him to get dressed and go to a movie set where he is needed. Emilio tries to protest, but Alex informs him that considering he is only an extra on the film, there isn't going to be much work. Emilio goes to the set, and he instantly feels as if he entered another world. The movie star, Omar, walks through the streets as the women up on their balconies call out to him. He only stops in front of the stage where it is announced that now Mia Lorna will be performing. A woman appears on the stage and starts dancing and chanting everyone who lays eyes on her. Emilio is there in the background, and as soon as he sees her, he immediately recognizes her from earlier. It's Miley. Emilio can't take his eyes off of her as if he is in some kind of trance. Finally, the music stops and so does her dance. Everyone claps and cheers for her, including Emilio. Omar, the hero of this film, walks on the stage and grabs the actress by the waist, but before they can act any further, the director cuts the scene and the whole crowd groans in frustration. He wants everything to be perfect, and the fact that there isn't enough lighting irritates him even more. A man out of nowhere grabs Emilio and announces that he will be the light double. Emilio gets on the stage and stands in front of Miley. The director reads the lines from the script and Emilio imitates what is being said. He gently brushes the hair off of her face and then kisses her. Awes can be heard from everyone standing in the crowd, and this grabs the director's attention, who isn't impressed by Emilio's improvisation. He angrily orders Emilio to get off the stage. Miley, instead of being angry at Emilio, smiles seeing him dragged off the stage. Emilio thinks that he is only having a bad day, but the worst has just begun. Emilio tries to rest his arm on a horse nearby, but instead, the horse riles up and a torch nearby falls, putting the set on fire, literally. Everyone screams and runs for shelter, but when they look for the one who caused it in the first place, Emilio, they find out that he is already gone. At the stage, a woman who looks quite serious comes out and takes a quick look at what has been happening. She appears to be in charge, as even the director obeys all that she orders him to do. She is Beatrice, famous movie star of the era. Miley is actually only her dance double. The director asks Miley to leave as her work here is done, and she does so without a word. Miley goes to a movie premiere with Beatrice, but like always, all the attention is on Beatrice, whereas Miley stands in the rain soaking wet. Omar notices her on the red carpet and offers her his coat. She gladly gets under it, and they run to the shelter. Back at his place, Emilio tells Alex all about his day and even mentions that he kissed Beatrice. Emilio has never seen her, only heard her name, so he mistakes Miley for her. Emilio is hopeful that if he asks her for dinner she will most probably agree. Alex, on the other hand, laughs at his brother's stupidity. Alex forbids him from approaching her ever again, as he knows that it will only create more problems for him, but unknown to Alex, Emilio has already managed to get himself in trouble. Right on the cue, General Director Beck enters, shouting that some idiotic extra destroyed one of the sets. Hearing his shouts, Emilio hides while Alex has finally deduced that it can only be Emilio. Alex is amazed at how Emilio managed to get in trouble on his first day on the job, but it doesn't matter to Emilio. What matters to him the most is that he sees her again. So, he begs Alex, and seeing his brother in such a desperate state, Alex gives in. The job Emilio gets is watching over the geese that are often stolen by the Russians. The job is simple, yet knowing his brother, Alex is still worried that Emilio might manage to do something stupid. Once Alex is gone, Emilio looks over the geese, and that's when another idea pops into his head. Emilio takes the geese for a walk in the studio, and on his way, he catches a glimpse of Miley. His heart skips a beat when he lays his eyes on her again, and without waiting for another second approaches Beatrice's tent. He calls out her name, but Beatrice is busy getting ready, so instead, she asks Miley to see who it is. Miley comes out expecting anyone but him. She smiles as soon as she sees him, and Emilio gets even more nervous. He stutters as he speaks but manages to apologize for the kiss through the broken words. Miley notices geese who have now made it on the set, but Emilio gives an Oscar-worthy performance pretending that they don't belong to him. When the topic of the nuts comes up, which Emilio is holding in his hands for the geese, Emilio shyly asks Miley to go for dinner with. But before Miley can reply, the set owner comes out screaming at Emilio for sneaking in all the geese, who are now causing a mess. Emilio is ashamed, and instead of the situation getting diffused, it gets more intense when Beatrice comes out and starts screaming at Miley. Emilio, when he sees the girl he has fallen for getting disrespected in such a manner, cannot stop himself, and without knowing who she really is, tells Beatrice to shut up. Pin drop silence. That's what follows afterwards, and then we see Emilio in the court of Beck, where he stands accused of disrespecting the great Beatrice Moore. Instead of backtracking, Emilio lets everyone know that he doesn't regret his words, but actually meant them. This proves to be the last thread, and Beck orders his men to throw Emilio out, but not before he once kicks him himself. Emilio is getting dragged by Beck's men when Miley, disguised as someone else, approaches them. She swiftly distracts them, and they both flee the scene. Men order them to stop, but they don't. Instead, they hide in a closet full of clothes. This is the first time where they properly introduce themselves to each other. Seeing Beck's men distracted, they again leave their hiding spot and rush to the top of a beautiful set. This is where Miley has actually set up things for the date Emilio talked about earlier. It's not much, but it's the most Miley could do in such a short period of time. They have a great time together, eating almost nothing but still pretending as if they had the best dinner of their lives. Miley thinks that Emilio only asked her out because of her looks, and he doesn't hold the ability to look beyond the skin, but Emilio proves her wrong. When challenged, Emilio correctly guesses that Miley always wanted to be on the big screen. She is a professional dancer and deserves so much more, but the small stages were too little for her, so she decided to be Beatrice's shadow, and now shares the bigger stage with her. When Miley listens to Emilio's assessments, she's lost for words because all that he has said is true. Instead of addressing his points, Miley hits him back with an observation of her own. He used to be in the army before but abandoned it pretty soon. Then his next stop was movies, but working here for only one day has made him realize that even this life isn't for him. He is searching for something that might not even exist in real life but only in his head. Just like Miley, Emilio stays quiet as he hears her tell him all that he has kept hidden deep in his heart. Miley asks if what she said is true, and Emilio promises to answer her only when she meets him the next day. Miley agrees, and just before she leaves, they share a kiss. Emilio runs back to Alex, who is surprised that he is still here. Emilio manages to convince his brother and his friends to help him for the last time, and despite their reluctance, they agree. The next day, Miley is on her way to meet Emilio, but her ride suddenly stops in the middle of the bridge. She gets off and walks on foot to see what's happening. There she sees soldiers standing firm and refusing entry to anyone who dares to pass. They have barricaded the area, and Miley doesn't understand why. Back at the cab, Miley hears on the radio that the Soviet sector from Berlin is sealed off because of the refugees. There is no way for her to cross. On the other side, Emilio has prepared a beautiful set for Miley, but she doesn't show up. He keeps waiting, unaware of the fact that despite all her efforts, she couldn't make it. Despite all the tragedies happening all around the country, Beck remains unsympathetic and asks his secretary to hire more people from the East. The production of all the sets has stopped, and this is his way of dealing with it. Miley has no option but to board the flight to Paris along with Beatrice. She for the last time tries to call Emilio but is informed that all the phone lines to the East are still dead. With a heavy heart and nothing else to do, Miley leaves. Emilio, on the other hand, wakes up in a random office and sees a man removing the name painted on the door. The one who owned this office is not going to return due to the borders closing, and Emilio is still unaware of this fact. Memories from earlier return, and Emilio remembers when he got tired of waiting for her. He spent the evening drinking. Everything around Emilio feels gloomy with the thoughts of Miley abandoning him. Alex realizes that Emilio still has no clue about the war zone their country has become, and finally informs him that the only reason Miley couldn't come is that the borders between East and West have been sealed. Instead of getting heartbroken, Emilio cheers and celebrates, making even Alex confused. He is happy because Miley didn't abandon him. The only reason she couldn't come is that she was forced to stay and not because she disliked him. Emilio tries to go and see if he can cross the border, but Alex gives him a rude awakening. He tells him that Miley is probably going back to Paris and there is no stopping her. Suddenly the scene changes and we are back to the young boy and his grandfather. The child claims that he is aware of the fact that this story isn't of anyone else but his own grandfather. Grandpa smiles but doesn't say much. He informs the child that later a huge wall was built between East and West Germany, destroying all the hope that remained in people's hearts. The child is unhappy because of such a tragic ending, but the grandfather reveals that this is not the end. Something else happened that proved to be the turning point in his life. We are back in the past where Emilio is walking along with Alex when suddenly Beck appears out of nowhere. And to save Emilio from his wrath, Alex pushes Emilio to an unknown room. Inside, in hopes of hiding from Beck, Emilio finds refuge in executive producer Carl's room. His secretary is startled by Emilio's intrusion, but when he asks who she is, she explains that she is Rosemary and she has been here only for 3 days. Emilio realizes that she has never seen Carl in real life, so he takes this as an opportunity and manipulates her into thinking that he is Carl. Rosemary is gullible and instantly believes whatever Emilio says. She proudly gives him a tour of the office, which she renovated herself. Emilio is happier than ever. He cannot believe how this opportunity fell on his lap. An adequate office and an amazing secretary who is willing to obey his every order. He asks Rosemary to bring in Alex and she obeys the command in an instant. Alex is brought in and Emilio pranks Alex by hiding his face and scolding him for his brother's mistakes. Alex starts thinking that it's all over for him, but then Emilio removes the paper and reveals himself. Alex is horrified. He thinks that his brother now might end up in jail, but Emilio informs him that he has finally come up with an idea about how to bring Miley back to him. One might think that the idea is simple, but no, it's more dangerous than anything Emilio has ever come up with. Emilio has decided to create a movie all by himself. He intends to write a movie, especially for Beatrice. This way, she won't be able to reject it, and along with her, Miley can also return. Alex is worried for his brother's safety, but Emilio guarantees him that he can look after himself. Only 2 people, Beck and Prager, in the studio know about his real identity, so it wouldn't be hard for him to avoid them and keep doing what he is planning to do. Although Alex disapproves of his plan, Emilio is still determined to make his dream come true. First of all, with the help of the senior makeup artist Krista, it is decided that the role Beatrice will be playing is of Cleopatra, the most befitting character for her. To start the process, Emilio hires people from the studio who are just like him. They also have dreams of becoming big in the movie world, and Emilio is here to give them just what they need. Along with the help of Krista, Emilio manages to include all the people that he will be needing for production. They are a team. Krista advises Emilio to not let this secret out and that no one outside this room should know about the movie they are making. Emilio's team tries to discreetly cast people for their film, but the press gets a sniff of it and it's all over the news the next day. The higher-ups confront Beck, but instead of being mad at him, they are actually impressed by the young Carl who is going to direct this big film in the early years of his life. Beck is lost for words. He knows that Carl isn't here and the confusion is eating him alive, but he doesn't say a word in front of them. Instead, he acts as if he knew about the production that was happening right under his nose. Prager goes to get Carl but instead finds Emilio in his place. Though he is surprised, he expects nothing else from Emilio. Emilio thinks that it's all over but is surprised when the leader of the group informs him that he has all the support of the party. Emilio expects Beck to say something against him, but even he says nothing of that sort and only mentions Mr. Bob Workman's exceptional talent. He doesn't know what Emilio is planning, but seeing the exceptional support headquarters is giving him, he goes with it. Emilio says goodbye to Beck and the first thing to do is write the script that headquarters is expecting the very next day. Alex wants the script to be made as soon as possible, but when he hears the slowest click he's ever heard in the background, he knows Emilio isn't ready for this work. Rosemary proves to be their savior. She types faster than the light while Emilio narrates the story. Beck, when he reads the script, thinks that it's the worst thing he has ever laid his eyes upon and expects nothing but failure. But when Beatrice reads the same script, she has completely opposite views from Beck. Emilio made the script especially for her and his plan works as she informs Beck that she will be coming back to the studios as soon as possible. Despite this initial victory, Beck still thinks that Emilio is nothing but an extra. To make his point, Beck asks Prager to call comrade director Jansen as he is the only one he sees worthy of being the director of this exceptional film despite it being Emilio's idea. Time passes and finally, the day for Beatrice's arrival comes. Emilio dresses up in the best suit possible and awaits with flowers in his hands. Beatrice comes into view first and Emilio holds his breath, but what follows afterwards can only be described as a painful heartbreak. Emilio sees Miley with another man, Omar. She seems happier with him while Emilio has never felt this much sadness before. He quickly hides the letter he wrote and despite Miley's efforts of making eye contact, Emilio ignores her and turns around. Emilio has given up all hope, even abandoning the idea of the movie, but this time Alex motivates him. He cannot turn his back on all these people. If he does so, not only will they suffer, but the consequences will be severe for him. Alex takes Emilio to his production set. The set is prepared and so is Emilio's whole team, even the colorblind cameraman. Miley enters and the whole set stops doing what they are doing, except Emilio, who only glances at her and then continues doing his work. Miley is upset by Emilio's behavior but doesn't say anything. The scene opens and Miley starts dancing, enchanting anyone who sees her, but halfway through the performance, Omar, who is playing Cesar's role, throws a tantrum in between the scenes. The reason for his objection is that he doesn't want Miley to dance seductively. Beatrice agrees with Omar, and when Miley sees that a fight may break out between Omar and Emilio, she also agrees to omit the scene. Omar warns Emilio to stay away from Miley and walks off as if nothing happened. Prager, who has been silently observing, smiles gleefully. He informs Beck what has transpired and is confident that the next day will be Emilio's last day on the set. The day ends and the set closes, but not everyone goes back home. Miley stays as she looks for Emilio throughout the set and eventually finds him. He refuses to move, but when Miley throws a shoe at him, he has no option but to sit up straight. Miley expresses the disappointment she felt when the only friend she had here didn't even say hi to her. Emilio, who was obviously heartbroken about Omar, doesn't reveal the real reason but makes up an excuse that he was only mad because she didn't show up that day. Miley is surprised that Emilio went from being banned to directing a movie here in the studios. Emilio only smiles knowing that he did all this for her, yet she has no clue how important she is to him. Emilio is still frustrated about that dance scene they had to cut because of Omar. He had prepared everything and it was supposed to be magical. Even Miley wanted to do it but gave up her wish to save Emilio from the fight. Things seem to be finally getting better, but Emilio's heart crushes even more when he notices an engagement ring on Miley's finger. This is the moment when Emilio realizes that Miley is far gone even though she is still here with him. Miley tries to grab Emilio's attention by mentioning that she always wanted to come back, but Emilio isn't listening. He is still in pain from the revelation he just had. He did all this just to get her back, and now it seems that it was all for nothing. Miley turns to leave but stops and pulls the lever. Rose petals fall everywhere around them as they stand in the middle of it. They seem close yet far away from each other. Today is the day when Emilio will be tested like never before. Beck informs Emilio that comrades will be here soon to witness the first dailies. Although Beck wishes Emilio good luck, there is something sinister about it. Everyone on the set is ready to make history and the doors open to let extras in, but it turns out that they are heavily drunk. Most of them cannot even stand still. Prager is behind all this. He told the guys that there will be no shooting scene, and as a result, none of them came prepared. Emilio knows the consequences of stopping the shooting now, so instead of giving up, Emilio announces that they will still shoot the scene despite the drunk soldiers. It's the crowning scene, the most important one, that has to be perfect. The scene starts relatively well and a woman holding the crown is brought out. Everything seems to be going fine, but then one of the soldiers falls in the middle and the scene has to be cut. Prager laughs as he sees everything going down just like he planned. Everyone thinks that this is the end of the movie, but Emilio has other plans. Using his quick thinking, Emilio starts screaming that there is an earthquake. Emilio's crew don't question him and instead start shaking all the equipment they have in their hands. Miley also takes part in this and everyone causes a ruckus everywhere on Emilio's command. Turns out that this is what Emilio needed. He manages to take a close-up shot of Beatrice and Omar as they hold each other in their arms. Comrades are here and Beck welcomes them. He introduces them to Mr. Jansen, the replacement director that Beck has already prepared. They all go in while Emilio waits outside. He is sure that his career in the film industry is done, but then he sees Jansen storming off. Confused about what's happening, Emilio stands up and sees comrades leaving the building. Instead of being mad at him for causing a mess, they praise him for thinking so cleverly and creating the best special effect that they have ever seen. Emilio sits in the cinema and laughs as he sees the masterpiece that he has created. It's perfect, just like Miley. Emilio's crew stands silently as they await to hear the dreadful news, but Emilio surprises them with an announcement that officials absolutely loved what they created. Despite every hurdle, they've done it. Now everyone is more motivated than ever. Emilio is the perfect director who helps his crew when they need him. Emilio and Miley get closer during the shooting, and their interactions don't go unnoticed by Omar, who has been keeping a close eye on them. Prager still stays on set, observing everything. But he and Beck still have nothing to use against Emilio. Emilio, Miley, and crew are now not only work buddies, but they are more like a family. The shooting ends and Miley has to leave but notices that her ride back home isn't there anymore. Seeing her stranded, Emilio offers to drive her back. It's not exactly a car, but as long as it moves, they make it work. As they drive in the dark, Emilio turns off the lights and their path fills with beautiful fireflies. The vehicle suddenly comes to a halt, so they decide to continue on foot. They are in the city where Miley expresses how different it is from the city of love, Paris. There, streets are mostly filled with people dancing and singing, but here nothing of that sort can be seen. Suddenly heavy rainfall starts and they look for shelter. As Miley is telling Emilio about her city, they almost get too close, but their moment is cut short by the officers suddenly appearing out of nowhere. They search them and ask for any identification. This is when they find two IDs on Emilio, one his own while the other ID belongs to Carl. They arrest him on spot without any warning. Despite Miley's protests, they drag him inside their vehicle and drive off. When Miley returns home, she and Omar get into a huge fight regarding her relationship with Emilio. Omar lets Miley know that he will not let her ruin her life for someone like Emilio, and will make sure that she returns to Paris with him. Emilio is thrown in jail where there is no hope left for him. The next day, Beck announces that Emilio won't be the director anymore and introduces Jansen to the crew. The news comes like a storm and takes away all their happiness at once. Krista comes forward, but instead of working with Jansen, she walks off. Following her lead, all of the crew walks away despite Beck's every effort to keep them on the set. Seeing that no one wants to work anymore, Beck has no other option but to get Emilio out of jail. He returns with a smile, and when everyone sees him marching back, they cannot help but cheer and dance with joy. Everyone is here except Miley. Nevertheless, Emilio finds her, and there they share a sweet, intimate moment. After that, they again get into an argument when Miley mentions that she is leaving for Paris with Omar. Emilio knows that Miley is with Omar only because he represents security for her. She is ready to give up on her dreams, and Emilio tries to convince her otherwise, but despite all his efforts, Miley refuses. She thinks that she is only here due to some coincidence, without knowing that Emilio did all this for her. When he hears this, Emilio, instead of revealing the truth, apologizes to her and leaves. Emilio returns to the set and informs Alex that he will make that dance scene happen. And this time, it will be grander than before. Alex tells Emilio that this isn't enough to stop Miley from leaving, but Emilio never wrote this movie for Beatrice. He wrote this for Miley, and he will make it happen no matter what it takes. Miley is given the script, but before she can read it, Omar takes it first. He is absolutely infuriated about the dance scene being re-included and informs Miley that he will never allow her to dance. Later, Omar even attacks Emilio, but Alex makes it there in time and stops them before things can go out of hand. The next day, everyone is in high spirits. Beatrice protests about her scene being cut off, but Emilio politely informs him that it doesn't matter. She is a great actress, but this was all meant for Miley. He sees Miley standing in the distance and goes up to her. Unfortunately, Miley informs Emilio that she has decided not to dance in the movie, and is instead leaving with Omar. She only came here to collect Beatrice's things and nothing else. Emilio tries to convince her that if not him, she should dance for herself, but it's too late. She has made up her mind and walks away. Miley goes to the dressing room to collect her things, but suddenly Krista, along with her dance replacement, enters the room. Instead of making them aware of her presence, she continues to sit quietly. Fate works mysteriously, and that's what happens. Krista reveals everything Emilio did for Miley, and she hears all of it. She always thought that Emilio fell in love with her only when she came back from Paris, but realizes that he has been in love with her since the day he first saw her. Before the wall was built, Emilio created the set of her favorite musical and waited all day and night, but she never showed up. Finally, Miley learns that this movie was created not for Beatrice, but for her. He convinced the whole administration that he was the executive producer just so he could see her once again. He did all this for her. As Miley hears the truth, she cannot hold back her tears anymore and cries silently. He made the impossible possible only for her. When the time comes, contrary to Emilio's expectations, Miley is the one who walks out on the set and gets into position. He is surprised but happiest seeing her there. The scene opens, music starts, and Miley starts to dance. She performs her magic, and everyone on the set is spellbound. Emilio cannot bear to look at her any longer and begins to walk away. This is the big stage that Miley always talked about. Her dream of 15 years is coming true right before her eyes, and it's all because of Emilio, who wanted nothing but for her to be happy. The dance ends and everyone cheers for her, but she cannot see Emilio in the audience. She tries to find him, but instead, Omar appears in front of her. Miley gets in the car with Omar, and they are almost about to cross the border when Miley does the unthinkable. She gets out of the car and starts running back to the studios with her eyes filled with tears. Omar watches helplessly while Beatrice smiles, knowing that Miley has finally found true love. Emilio is sitting alone at the top where there is only melancholy, but that sadness is short-lived as Miley can be seen walking inside. She sits right across from him. No words are shared between them, but seeing each other, both shed tears and laugh together. The story ends and the grandpa finally reveals that in fact, he is Emilio. The child learned the lesson Emilio was trying to teach him, and without wasting a second, he ran off to confess his love for the girl he liked. Emilio and Miley have been together ever since that day and are living in the house they always dreamed about.